right, welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. For those watching on YouTube, you'll have to excuse my hair. The quarantine is definitely getting the best of me with all these barbershops and everything getting closed. Yeah, does not look good right now, and I am very close to contemplating a full buzz cut just to get it gone, to get rid of it. But besides the point, things have been doing okay over here in New York. We have been well. Things are slowly starting to get back to normal. Jobs are starting to slowly open. Life is almost getting back to it as we knew it. I don't think it'll ever be back to as we knew it, as we know. Yeah, you get the point. But hopefully we can get back to a close state where things are able to be enjoyed, to be used at the capacity as which they were originated. So hopefully things, get back to being sane where people aren't going nuts. With that being said, I hope everybody in Minnesota and areas that are taking these recent tragedies to heart and are being displayed in public are doing okay. I hope you guys are safe with these riots, these burnings, that whatever it is going on. This is madness that has happened in the past few days. I hope everyone is doing okay. Just stay safe, please. For whatever you do, just stay safe. It is tragic what has been happening, what you've been seeing on the news. It's unfortunate that happened. It really is, and it's sad to see what is going down. I don't want to speak on it too much further. I'm not very political. I don't like to bring it into this podcast, but my main message for bringing this up is just please, for those of you, especially in Minnesota, please stay safe. I have a lot of folks on this podcast who are from Minnesota. Those gentlemen, I hope you guys are all staying safe. And the listeners from that area, please, please, please stay safe. Make smart decisions. Stay inside. I don't know the full length of what's going on over there. Just please, whatever you do, just stay safe. So hopefully this podcast can distract you from the madness going on in this world, and we can get on Mr. Tyler Manthey of University of Buffalo Bass Fishing on the podcast to talk about bass fishing. What else would we talk about? But we're going to get Tyler on here to talk about tournament fishing, college bass fishing, fishing Lake Erie, and talking about his roots and how we got into fishing in general. It's going to be a blast to talk to him. But before we do that, a quick shout out to Douglas Outdoors for sponsoring the Serious Angler podcast. I really appreciate what you guys do and how much you support me. Today went out with a buddy and we're basically just targeting bedding largemouth, and basically all it took for that was throw in the LRS 724XF, which makes a great wacky rig rod. I'm not a huge fan of throwing a wacky rig, but it took 2 to 3 casts for these largemouth to commit on beds for wacky rigs. So the 724XF is a perfect wacky rig rod if that is something that you're into. Definitely check them out at douglasoutdoors.com. There's so many different dealers that have Douglas, and we're only looking to expand from that. So it's going to be awesome to see where Douglas can go from there. So check it out, douglasoutdoors.com. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook at Douglas Spitting Cast. Without further ado, let's get Tyler Manthey on here, and let's get into his podcast. All right, we are recording. Tyler, what's going on, my man?
How's it going, man? Just hanging out, fixing up the boat, dying to get back on the water here.
Yeah, I saw you're painting your trailer.
Yeah, it's a task that I bit off a little more than I thought it was going to be. I have been working on my boat a lot lately, but what's gotten neglected has been the trailer, and it's been a multi-process to say the least here, and should be done in the next day or so. So then I'll be getting it back out on the water and doing what I love to do again. So.
Yeah, I heard some sadness in your voice as soon as I asked that question. So it sounds like you've had some road bumps in there.
Yeah, I'm having some balls right now. It's getting.
Well, I hope you fix them soon so you can get back out. So
yeah.
for those who don't know, Tyler over here has been smashing them on Lake Erie, and as you can see, if you're watching from YouTube, you can see his hat where he goes to school. So it only makes sense. And Mr. Buffalo Fishing over here. So before we get into it, if you want to tell us, how you got into fishing, who installed that passion in you, and what's that first story of catching a fish?
Yeah. So I'm from the Finger Lakes region in Syracuse area, but I did not grow up fishing here. My family has a place in Canada, They've been going there for years, just about an hour over the border, straight up Route 81. So that's where I spent most of my summers, really just fishing Canadian waters, be it largemouth, smallmouth, really multi-species, fishing for whatever, up until I got into later in high school, and I really started dialing into bass. So I grew up fishing Canadian waters where, I mean, you can pick one bait and just throw it and throw it and throw it and catch fish. So I grew up fishing spinner baits. That was my big thing. So, again, grew up fishing Canadian waters, really started fishing and focusing heavily on New York lakes and probably sophomore year of high school. And that's when I really realized that, like, wow, Finger Lakes region has big fish. Love it down here. It's awesome. A lot of variety. Went to school here at UB, University of Buffalo, and became amazed by the big Lake Erie there. It was a real challenge, and it still is a huge challenge for me. But I'm starting to get my feet wet in there and start to understand these smallmouth a little bit more. I mean, largemouth are my favorite fish to fish for, but you really can't beat big Great Lake smallmouth, and it's just a blast.
I just love that they're simple-minded like myself, so we kind of collaborate very well. We're both stupid, so we just mesh. Me and smallmouth mesh very well together.
Yeah, this time of the year, if you find them, I mean, I don't want to say they can be easily tricked because I've been had my ass kicked a few times out there, more than a few times. But I got a lot of great people who I've met through the club, a lot of mentors out there who have really helped shorten the learning curve for me out there, and just show me the different world that Lake Erie is and the Niagara River. And it's truly been this season, especially, has been just a blessing for me out there. I mean, it's been wake up and go fishing and enjoy the weather, and when you're out there when it's nice, and just catch big smallmouth. And it's making me spoiled that, you know, coming back, I'm actually at home right now in Syracuse for a few days fixing up the boat, but makes you spoiled seeing these big Great Lakes smallmouth, and then coming back and catching, you know, 3.5, 4 pounder here, and you're like, oh, this doesn't look the same.
No, the Great Lakes smallmouth are a different breed, and if I'm not mistaken, you broke your PB actually recently.
I did. I broke it 3 times actually this season in a matter of a couple weeks. I got
me.
Allie is up to 4 6-pounders on Erie this year. And previously it was 5.5. So that's, I mean, the jump between, I mean, that's what I tell everybody. The jump between a 4-pound fish and a 5-pound fish on Lake Erie, it's night and day. You can tell which is a 5 and which is not. When you jump between a 5 and a 6, that's when you really are like, wow, this is a giant. And you can just see the shape is different. And as soon as those fish on Erie get a little bit of length, they just inflate. So I've been blessed, like I said, to broke my PB a few times this year on smallies. So just a hair over 6 pounds now. I've been going up in tenths of ounces, but we're going up steadily here. So next goal is a 7-pounder, hopefully.
Yeah, I hear you, dude. I mean, the Lake Erie fish, I mean, you know, the people call them footballs. I mean, they're not footballs. They're just straight up bowling balls. That's what they are. They're not, you know, that oval shape. They're just a swimming circle, essentially. Yep. They're just so dense. But yeah, I'm almost on that same track record as you. I broke on mine twice so far, and when I broke it, I have a 5-pound 14 ounce is my PB now. And that was like a roller coaster because when I caught my PB, it was originally a 5.3. And then when I broke in it again, I weighed it and it was 5.9, but I had forgotten to put my scale on pounds and ounces, not pounds. So I was like thinking 5.9 is like I still halfway to like a 6-pounder till I was like, wait, pounds, ounces. And I'm like, that was almost a 6. Like it was crazy. But you said 6.3 or something like that? Is your PB?
Yep, that's what it is right now.
It's just a giant.
Season started off good. I mean, before I even got to fish Lake Erie this year, we had a tournament. Supposed to have a tournament down in Kentucky Lake. We ended up getting there, and both tournaments were canceled due to the coronavirus. This was our spring break trip. So when we got down there, and we're like, well, not like we're just going to turn back around and drive up home. So we ended up fishing down there. fished Kentucky Lake for a few days. That was great. And then we went over to Pickwick Lake and fished there to practice for this ACA event that's coming up in 2 weeks here. So we got a little bit of a head start down there, and that's really where my season started. I guess the good luck charm I've had this season. Got 2 big ones down there, and that was just a blast. And I've been lucky enough to carry some of that momentum since, and I'm hoping it doesn't stop.
There you go. Yeah, at the college scene, we're gonna get into a little bit. Before we get into that, when did you start tournament fishing? Has it always been a passion of yours? Is it something you recently got into before college, or how'd that work out?
So I joined the club at UB my freshman year. I actually transferred my spring semester to UB. Instantly became involved in the club there. Started off as their social media coordinator, so I was running their social media pages for a bit. And I got really close with the leaders of the club there, and they eventually asked me to fish. That summer, they asked me to fish a college tournament. So my first college tournament, which was actually my first ever tournament, was on Chautauqua Lake in July of my freshman year in summer. And I caught my limit of white bass. So can't bring those back to the scale. So that was my first tournament. That's how I got into tournament fishing. And even though I didn't catch any weighable fish that tournament, I fell in love with the tournament scene. I'd always just fish as, relaxed, laid back before that. But there's something different about tournament fishing that I fell in love with. I don't want to call it work, but it's a different vibe when you're fishing a tournament. There's a sense of urgency, and I've just fell in love with that competitiveness. And I've been fishing tournaments ever since. Fish a couple just Wednesday nighters on Onondaga in the summer for the past few years, and mainly collegiate events as well. And now New York Youth Bass has got some events in New York too that we've been fishing as a club. So it's been awesome. Really fished the most tournaments I ever have this past year. So
That's awesome, man. So are you looking at, what's the goal here? Are you trying to continue just like local clubs, or what's your intention?
my intention is probably start in local clubs, kind of gauge my success level there, because we do have some hammers around here. So gotta see how I can hold my own against the big boys here, and then see how I do in that. If I can, and I'm fortunate enough to make the cut, then start looking to go and compete in some bigger tournaments around. Just keep working my way up. I'm in no rush. I just love to fish, so really that's kind of my mindset for that. Just see wherever it takes me.
There's a lot of very talented anglers here in New York, whether local or guys that have gone on to fish, FLW, Bassmaster. I mean, Hartman's coming home soon. We have Casey Smith, Chris O'Brien, who are done very well in FLW Costa Series and now Toyota Series. There's a good list. I mean, especially guys that date way back. So it's New York. We're very spoiled with our fisheries. So it's when you come up here and you join a derby, you better it's gonna be tough. You got your work cut out for you no matter what. There's a lot of the guys that what they like to call cherry pick tournaments. So if you go out on any of these tournaments that are on local lakes and they're open, chances are a lot of the locals that only fish that lake and only that lake will be out on it, and you better have your A game 100%. But it's
Still haven't figured out some of the lakes.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to, if you look at what we have here in New York, it will take you a lifetime to figure out almost every single lake to an extent. I mean, because you look at like a Cayuga, you look at good God, I don't know if anybody ever has figured out Seneca. I mean, it blows my mind, that lake. And Cuca. I mean, these lakes are so long. You look at Champlain. Oh my gosh! I mean, it goes up pretty much almost the whole state. They're hard to figure out and be successful on countless times. So it's.
I feel like you have to devote a good 3-4 years on each one of those lakes and fish them hard before you can say you're really, really competent fishing there. And we got tons of lakes around us, so you add those years up, and you're looking at a long time before you've mastered the Finger Lakes area. So,
Yeah, and you got to add in like another 20 20 years for Ontario and 20 for Erie.
Oh, yeah.
Although I think I'll cut it down. I'll say 10 years for Erie, not 20.
I would agree. I think Erie's definitely a little bit easier to learn than Ontario. Um, I, I honestly haven't even really started trying to learn Ontario yet. So that'll be my next challenge of a Great Lake after I feel like I've gotten to the point where I want to on Erie.
Yeah, it's
a lot of learning to do there. So
it just goes back to it. We're so spoiled for the lakes we have around us. It's incredible between what we have literally within our vicinity. Syracuse is in the essentially kind of the center of a lot of the Finger Lakes, like I am in Rochester. And then we, a couple hour drive, we got the river. We have Black Lake. We have Champlain, Lake George. Like the list just goes on. We have so many options, which is pretty cool. But before we move on this, I have a quick question because you said it earlier, and I was thinking about it, and this is a topic that I always argued with my friends at college as well. Do you say Syracuse or Syracuse?
That comes up a lot. I say Syracuse. I'm not sure if it's because that's where I'm from. I blame any controversial pronunciations that I have on my parents. Both my parents are from Jersey, so I guess I say a couple different things weird. So if anything pops up, don't necessarily associate that with me being from Syracuse. Maybe it's the way I talk. But we'll put that topic to rest because I get drilled on that all the time.
I was starting off with saying I was gonna trust you because you're from the area, but the New Jersey part kind of threw me off. So I think I'll go back to just saying it whatever.
In that department.
That's funny. So you have this tournament coming up. You said it's down on Pickwick, correct?
It's we're going to be down there June 6th through 12th. It's the ACA Collegiate Championship. It's pretty much our biggest tournament we fish every year. We've had guys going there for the past 3 years. I personally have not gone yet, but now that this year it'll be my first year. I started this past fall, but it'll be my first full tournament season as a boater now that I got my own boat. And I'm really looking forward to it. As I mentioned, we were down there for a couple of days just practicing after Kentucky Lake, and it's a really cool place. Not only is it a beautiful area as being part of the Tennessee River system, but there's giants there. And it's going to be a completely different pattern than what we were on before. But ledge fishing should be in full effect, and looking forward to putting my head down and just grinding with a crankbait, jig, big worm, and seeing what we can pull out of the depths there.
I was listening to a podcast on the way home today, and it was these guys talking about how on ledges they'll throw like these 18-inch and 20-inch worms, and I'm sitting there, I'm like that thing, like, I'm throwing my forearm into the water. Like, I'm trying to picture what size hook you're using on that thing. Like, do you have a stinger that goes all the way down to the end of this worm? Like, do you give it a 5-second count once you feel the bite? Like, how does that even work? It's just...
I can tell you that I'm not going to be throwing a worm bigger than 10 inches just because I never have before, and I'd be lost. So,
Have you ever ledge fished before?
I've done a little bit of it just because we were down there before, and I did do some ledge fishing out on Kentucky Lake when we were there, even though it was a little bit pre-spawn. There were some hanging on some ledges, so got my little taste of that there. Actually, the lake in Canada that I grew up on, a lot of the smallmouth, there's a rock lake, so a lot of the smallmouth hung out on some of those deeper ledges where it'd go, there'd be the big bluff walls, and it would drop, 20 feet off the shore where people could jump in the water, and then it'd be going down in the 60s. So I would spend some time trying to catch those suspending smallmouth there. Do I have a lot of experience fishing ledges? Not really. I definitely have before, but it's something I want to learn. It's something that I'm going to have to learn down in Pickwick because these fish are going to be pretty much done with spawn by the time we get down there, and they'll be hanging on the ledges. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how you guys do. Besides fishing Pickwick and what Pickwick is known for producing, are you excited for the road trip at all? Do you enjoy the adventure aspect of it, or what else are you looking forward to?
Oh man. Well, I'll start with the road trip. I don't mind the road trip itself, but I always have bad luck on road trips,
Uh
specifically with my trailer. That's why I've redoing the damn thing.
oh. This makes
Um,
sense now.
yeah, I've blown a wheel bearing a few times. The way back from Pickwick in March, I actually had to drive back from Cincinnati, Ohio, and had to leave my boat there on the trailer because blew a wheel bearing, and it was the second time it happened. The same wheel, and had only been replaced, a couple months before. So it's like, why does this keep happening? And I realized that part of the axle where the wheel attaches had a divot taken out of it, and it would just keep grinding and not sitting flush on there. So, not to get into all the technical stuff, but I had to leave my boat there for a month until I could get a custom axle ordered, and then had to go back. So, I'm quite familiar with this route now, and seem to have some seemingly bad luck on road trips. However, I love fishing with the guys we got. We got a great group of people on every trip we go on. It's like a mini vacation because we're all just so close with each other. We're all best friends, and we've gone on countless trips together, and it's a great time. So, yeah, I'll take the risks of my bad luck with trailers just to enjoy the time spent with the club and fish probably what's going to be one of my last collegiate tournaments here as I just graduated.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Now, when you look at this tournament, how many pounds is gonna make you satisfied for your bag?
Oh, man, I'm hearing 28 pounds is going to win the the big tournaments down there. I don't know about the collegiate tournaments. If I can get myself to 20 pounds each day, I think I'll be in the top five. I'm hoping I will be. Um, but I think that because of the way the spawns worked out this year, I think the bags might be a little bit bigger. Again, I haven't fished a tournament there, but judging based on the guys that have fished in there, and have had some success there in our club, I think I would be happy and confident with 20 pounds. Looking to stay afloat with above 15. And for me, fishing my first tournament there, if I can get um, a limit with some quality bass, then I can't complain.
Yeah, just being competitive. I think another goal to shoot for is fishing clean. That's one I always try to shoot for, whether I'm fishing tournament or fun fishing. Like making a technical mistake or losing fish is something that annoys the living hell out of me. I just always want to fish clean. So
Yeah, I agree for sure. That's definitely been a focal point of mine lately. Is just slowing down on some of those things to make sure you are fishing clean, not just getting lost in the motions. And if you do miss a fish, then just not completely remembering what you did and really focusing on what you did wrong and just keep grinding, keep putting your head down and doing what we all do best, which is fishing, and not to let it be a mental game down there.
we all know, no matter what, fishing always becomes a mental game, especially when you're tournament fishing.
It does. But I do best when I can minimize that mental game and just enjoy being out there. So that's my goal, and fishing clean will help with that. So
Yeah, 100%. Now, what would you say is your biggest weakness, but also what would you say is your biggest strength?
um, I would say I'll start with my biggest weakness. My biggest weakness is um, it's probably going to be, just second guessing myself on spot. It seems that whenever I have a good tournament, it's when I stick with my plan and don't stick with it too long if the conditions are completely changed. So it's really overthinking. It's a mind game, like we were just saying. So my biggest weakness is trying which trying to figure out which part of me to trust. Do I stay or do I move? Do I switch this or do I keep doing what was working? And I guess that a lot of that comes with experience too in the tournament scene. So that's, I guess, my biggest weakness is trying to figure out, how how I can adjust, how I can adapt, when to move on from a spot, when to move to a different spot. And I've really been learning that quite a bit lately. It's just, playing the conditions. If the wind's blowing on one shore, you got to adjust even if your spots are on the other shore. Um, and just adjusting with the current conditions is something that I've been working on a lot lately. So that whole spiel is probably my weakness right now. My strength is definitely power fishing. I love cranking, chatterbaits, jigs. It's funny I'm saying that because I've been fishing this whole spring up on Erie, but um, that's definitely my strength. I've done well in tournaments that utilize those, um, and just flipping, fishing weeds, grass. That's definitely my strengths: power fishing and grass.
I like it. So you were definitely a Syracuse boy then, if that's what you like.
That's
You were definitely not born an Erie boy.
Yeah, that's I'm adjusting. It's funny because they're polar opposites. You know, I mean, I'm not going to be flipping grass on Lake Erie for big smallmouth. Just not how it works. But
Oh,
I love both of them. But if you got to give me a choice, I'm going to pick going 5 feet or less in weeds and flipping.
yeah. Are you going to be competing in the Douglas Big Money Open on Lake Erie come in October?
Yep, that's the plan.
That's gonna be
Yep.
a good tournament there. We got some elite guys joining that one. I'm trying to fish that one. That's my birthday weekend, so I'm trying to move everything away from that weekend so I can fish that. It's my damn birthday. I'm fishing that fucking thing.
I'm going to
But
be fishing that tournament, hoping to make it to the St. Lawrence one as well. I think that's the week after we get back from Alabama, so I got to see how things shake out there. But I'm really hoping to fish that one. But yeah, I'll be at Erie for sure.
there you go.
Hoping to do well. I got a decent fall pattern there last fall, but they move all over the place there. And spring fishing now in Lake Erie is completely different than what it is in the fall there. And I do feel like I can keep learning between now and then, and I'll definitely be there.
There you go, man. That should be a blast.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, we're hoping to get some of the UB guys there as well too.
That would be pretty cool. It'd be a cool show out for you guys being your home turf and whatnot. So that's awesome. Now, my next question for you, and this just popped up in my head because I'm curious. If you could only pick one body of water on New York to fish, not say it may very well may be your favorite, but say you're stuck to this one body of water for the rest of your life in New York, which one are you picking?
And you're not even going to give me a season to pick.
You can fish in all the seasons. It's just that you can only fish. Okay, how about this? We'll make the question more interesting. We're gonna go. We'll exclude winter because winters suck here, and I don't know if you're an ice guy. We'll
I
do.
I'd much rather not be.
All right, so we'll break it up to spring, summer, fall. You get three bodies of water. So one for spring, summer, fall. What lakes, bodies of water are you picking?
All right. Um, I'm going to start with the summer because it's a hands down choice for me. It's going to be Onondaga Lake.
Okay.
Um, that's my summer pick, no questions asked. If I got to pick a spring lake, that's going to come down to if I really want to fish largemouth, it's going to be Cayuga. If I want to fish smallmouth, it's going to be Erie. And quite honestly, I've had the most fun fishing this spring than I ever have, and I've been on Erie, so I got to go with Erie. Um, got to pick that for my spring lake. So it's tough to snub Cayuga out of that one, but I got to give spring to Erie. So spring Erie, summer Onondaga, fall might be Onondaga again because
Yeah.
it's a different bite than it is in the summer, but it's a fun bite. It's something I kind of was struggling with for the past few years and started to figure out the last year or two here. So I got to go with Onondaga again for the fall.
Okay, he's definitely a Syracuse boy, 100%. If he's sticking with Onondaga.
Yeah.
Oh man, Onondaga seems fun, but I look at it like that. Do you ever watch How I Met Your Mother
Oh yeah, I used to
TV
watch.
show? Have you ever
Yeah.
seen the episode where Marshall's like the environmental lawyer, and he's fighting for like a frog pond or whatever, not to be like this green acidic algae gross. Like that's how I view Onondaga. I don't know why.
It gets pretty smelly with those 80, 85, 90-degree days, but I love it there. I mean, all smells aside, I mean, there's something about that's my lake. It's really where I started taking bass fishing seriously was Onondaga Lake, and I guess it holds a spot true in my heart for that. And I just love how I fish that lake. I get to slow down. I can speed up if I want to. It's like what I said. I love doing before. Lots of grass, shallow grass, and that's what I love. So, and plus with the amount of dredging and stuff they do there, the lake changes every year. It might be a small lake, but they might put different, dredgings in the water. They might be messing around with the chemicals or something like that. That might move the fish. The water might be dirty one day, crystal clear the next, and you got to know how to fish it on each of those different days. Plus, as we were talking about before, I mean, there's a Seneca River is right there too, which is also another body of water in its own. That's a blast to fish. So, I love that lake. It's definitely my favorite lake to fish.
Nice. Onondaga Lake, where bass wear hazmat suits. I always like to joke about that, but nah, Onondaga is nice. I've only ever really fished it from shore because I went to school in Cortland, so I'd drive 30 minutes north and fish off like the park or whatnot, just around the lake, and there's some dang good fish in there for sure. Can you recall what the biggest fish is you took out of there?
That I caught 6.5. Um, I caught it actually in the fall, so got it in October. It was I had mentioned I went to UB as a transfer in my spring semester, so this was the first semester of college for me. Before I transferred, I was at OCC. Went there after a night in class. Was throwing a chatterbait around and got thumped by a 6.5 pounder, and that was a fun one to get there. It's
I bet, dude.
yeah,
Six
it's
and a half is fun anywhere.
yeah, it makes it so much better when it's on the lake. You put in a lot more time in, um, and I love fishing the nights, the sunsets there. It's funny because it's such a disgusting lake, but it's an Onondaga Lake.
I love it. I love it. Well, dude, so talking about, obviously you're leaving college now. You're looking into going, taking your next step, but not looking forward in the temporary, looking forward in the long term. What are your career goals? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be?
Ideally, I want to work in something with either sales or marketing. I was a marketing major at UB. I had both sales and marketing experience through internships. So I want to either, if I'm looking at the marketing side, I want to be running a company's marketing campaign. I want to work on their digital marketing, enhance it, run their social media accounts. Is something that I've had a good amount of success with at the UB's fishing account. So I love the social media marketing aspect of the job. If I'm looking at sales, which I would equally like as well, I love talking to people. I like building relationships with people, and that's really, I mean, if you got something you like selling and you put that hand in hand with personal skills, you're going to be a pretty good salesman. And what I want to do is get in on the fishing side of that, ideally. So my balance too is to make sure that whatever job I end up in, I have enough time to fish for myself as well, because that's what keeps me sane. So a good job for me is going to be something that I can get a nice balance of good work environment, but at the end of the day, I can go out on the lake for a couple hours and just decompress.
Makes sense, man. You can't really ask for much more, right? As us as anglers, I mean, that is the dream goal, is to get to that point where you can fish when you want. So
Yep. Yeah.
it's a tough one to achieve for sure, but
Yes. I'm asking to
I
be a
know.
million. I'd like to have a job that I can get a nice balance between the two in, ideally. And I might have to grind for it for these first few years in the job, but my end goal is just get a job doing something I highlighted there that allows me to have a nice balance.
I dig it, man. I dig it. I respect it. I support it 100%. So, dude, we're gonna wrap things up a little bit here in a second with my last two questions I like to ask. But before we do, where can people follow along with you on social media?
Yeah, my fishing account is at TCM Fishing. That's on Instagram. But if you're gonna give that account a look, you gotta check out the UB Bassmasters account, the University of Buffalo's fishing club, and that is at UB Bassmasters on Instagram. And post a lot of great stuff between my account and that account. So if you're looking to find me, you can find me on both of them.
That's awesome, dude. Well, everything will be linked down below, so everybody can just click on the description and go follow you, follow along, and check out some giant smallmouth from Erie this past spring that you even posted out. So that's pretty sweet. Are you ready for these last two questions?
I think so, yeah.
Now, I know you said you've listened to a podcast before, but I don't know if you listened to the full thing, because I don't know if you're prepared for these questions. So either these stump people for a while, or they have their answers like right away. But it's a fun one. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just funny to watch people like think about it and then like can't make up their mind. Okay, we'll get to the questions. I'll quit bantering. So first question is, if you could invite any three people to dinner to pick their brain, who would they be and why? And they don't have to be the fishing industry. They should be past or present. Anybody.
Well, I mean, being the nature of this podcast, I'm probably going to gear this towards fishing. It's got to be Mike Iaconelli, just because the guy seems like a great time, and he seems like he's just got a lot of techniques in his toolbox that he doesn't he shows people a lot of what he does, but a lot of them are kind of some sneaky techniques. So I'd love to go out to dinner with Mike Iaconelli, maybe give him a few beers, find out a few new techniques he hasn't told.
Get the juices flowing.
Yeah. So pick three. Second one, gotta be somebody. That's a tough one.
It's a tough question because you think about a bunch of stuff and then you're like, oh crap, I should have said this guy.
Oh, I know I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say that. That's a tough question. I always want to meet the president. Not to get this political, but I'd love to go out to dinner with the president of the United States. So that'd be pretty cool.
That is the most popular answer that we have on the show.
Yeah, I don't want to make anything political, but I'd like to go to dinner with the president.
Okay.
That'd be one. So I got one more. Gotta invite a girl to the table. This is gonna be one of those ones where I'm like, damn, I should have said this other one. Speed it up. We'll just say Kate Upton for now. Bring her to the table.
Okay. I respect that choice. That's awesome, dude. Gotta have a girl at the table. I love it.
Kate Upton, Donald Trump, and then Mike Iaconelli. It'd be a nice.
That is probably the most well-versed table I think I have ever heard answered on this show. That is like three completely different mindsets right there, personalities that are sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
And you get to be at the center of it. That's hilarious.
Give you something a little bit different there.
Yeah, no, I like it. I dig it.
That'd be a fun dinner.
Last question, dude. Just super simple, straight to the point. Your favorite fishing memory.
Favorite fishing memory. I'm gonna do a recent memory because it was a blast. It was fishing a college tournament, and we were at Lake Erie actually, but we were on the other side of Lake Erie. We were in Sandusky Bay this past past September, fishing a college FLW tournament, and we made a gamble. The lake had never been open to fish beyond the bay due to the wind in the past, I want to say 3 years. So we played those odds in our favor and said, you know what, we're going to fish the bay. We went up a couple weeks in advance and just tried to dissect the Sandusky Bay, which is largemouth for those that don't know. And we took the gamble to say, you know what, we're going to fish the bay. we're going to play the odds in our favor that the lake's not going to be open. The year before that, we practiced in the lake, couldn't go out there. So we didn't even spend a minute on the lake this year in practice. And then we get to tournament day, and wouldn't you know, the lake's open. So lake's open. We had a pretty good plan for the bay. I think a lot of people also had practiced in the bay, but we're still going to try out in the lake. So my tournament partner, Andy, and I, we decided, you know what, let's stick to what we got in the bay. We know we can find a few good largemouth in here, and I think we'll be able to qualify for the championship. So we fished the bay. We saw a lot of boats come in off the lake, not looking like they had a lot of success. We fished the bay. Within the first 10 minutes, we pulled up. We were flipping, and I caught one that was probably just under 5 pounds, and that was a pretty damn good start to the day. Andy proceeded to catch about 30 or 40 fish that day, and that kid will just give him a rod and a reel, and he'll just light it up wherever he is. So he's a great tournament partner to have. But he filled out our limit, and then I ended up catching another one that was pushing 4.5. And so we, at that point, I mean, we only had 2 big fish, but we were feeling like we might be able to hang in on the bottom end of the top 10 there and try and compete with those lake fish. I mean, it's Lake Erie smallmouth, so if the lake was on, we knew we were going to be in trouble, but we were just hoping for the opposite. So it was just a great tournament. It was so fun because we were catching fish all day, power fishing, doing what I love to do. So the sad part of this story is we get in, and for the second tournament of the year, Andy and I were 2 ounces shy of qualifying. But you asked why it's a good memory, and it's one of those tournaments where you're just having fun from the time you launch to the time you go in. You're catching fish, you're with a good person that you love being around, and it was just a blast. I mean, we were catching fish all day and just having fun, letting it loose, you know, just enjoying it, seeing what had happened. And that's a mindset that I've tried to carry with me the rest of the tournaments I've been fishing. It's just made things so much more fun. So that's definitely one of my better fishing memories.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah, and the camaraderie is a really important aspect of fishing. You know, it's another reason that that lets us enjoy it. In the last podcast, there was a quote that we talked about, Sam and I saying, your parents get you into fishing, but your friends keep you in it. That's what makes it pretty special. So, well, dude, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast. It's been a blast, and I'm sure we'll talk offline more here just about what's going on in New York and whatever, because we are pretty close. But we're going to have to get out fishing soon, dude. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast. Glad we got to make this happen. And like you said, we're not far, so we'll definitely link up and get out on the water soon, as soon as I can get my boat ready to go.
Yeah, as soon as you get that trailer nice and sparkly clean.
Yeah, I don't know about sparkly clean, but she'll be working.
Yeah, functional, not destroying yourself.
Yeah. Hopefully by Saturday we'll have the boat in the water, catching some more smallmouth up on Erie. So stay in touch, and again, check out my social medias. I'll be posting any good fish I get. So
awesome, dude. Yeah, of course, anytime. Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
See ya. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that podcast with Tyler. It was a blast to talk to him about a bunch of different things: New York, college bass fishing, Lake Erie, traveling the country to fish. Headed to Lake Pickwick, so many different things. It was good to talk to Tyler. I can't wait to get out on the water with him, to talk to him further and just get fishing. This is one thing that's cool about the podcast that I know is I make a lot of connections, and that can create opportunities to go hang out with these people in person, obviously once this virus passes. But it's awesome to have Tyler on here. I really appreciate you, Tyler, taking the time to come on here. So if you guys aren't already, go down the description, follow Tyler on social media. Follow UB Bassmasters 100%. It's a good team that they got going over there. It's recently connected with them through Douglas and UB. Douglas is sponsored UB's couch bass team. So, with that being said, if you guys aren't subscribed to the Eyebrow Outdoors YouTube channel already, please go ahead and do that. I would really appreciate it. It really supports me, and it's fun to create content for everybody who subscribes and watches my YouTube channel. It's a way for you to watch these podcasts, see how I interact with the hosts, and it's just a more interactive way to watch and enjoy the podcast. So head on over to iBright Outdoors if you're looking to do that. And if you don't want to watch the podcast, you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, the Angler app, pretty much any podcast application out there. You can find the Serious Angler podcast. So again, thank you for listening and for watching, and we'll see you next time.